Okay, the next piece we got to cut up, we bought a 3-foot long, 2-inch by 2-inch, 1/4-inch thick heavy wall. Three feet long. We're going to cut us some pieces off here. We're going to start off by cutting 2 pieces 4 inches long out of this piece right here for the next part of the project. Okay, so we got our square holes cut, and we went on and opened up this hole to a 7/8, which is going to be large enough for the pin to go through. That's typically what size that pin is a 7/8 pin. It goes through for the 3-point on a category 1. So that's what this will be set up for. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the hollow square stock, and we're going to go ahead and bore a hole through the middle of it so that we can thread it or weld a nut on it and have a bolt that will go down and tighten up. So we're going to work on getting that hole drilled next. Okay, so we went on and bored a 3/4 inch hole in this, and we got a nut and a bolt, and what we're going to do is we're going to stick this through here, and we're going to weld this nut on there so that we can screw the bolt down in there and tighten it up so it won't slide. So that's what we're going to work on next, is getting this bolt in a position so that it can be welded on there. So what I'm thinking about doing is I'm thinking about chucking it up in the lathe and turning the shoulder on the nut so it will register itself in this little groove. Because I made this hole right here bigger than what the bolt is purposely, so that I can try to cut a shoulder, recess that up in there, weld it in place, and it won't be moving around while I'm welding it. Let's get it done. Okay, so I chucked I just took the nut and the bolt, chucked it up in the lathe, and turned the shoulder on this nut, and so now it goes down in there and it registers so that it's centered of the hole, so I don't have to worry about the bolt rubbing the hole in there or anything like that. So got that hashed out now. We'll go ahead and get us some clamping to clamp this thing down on here, clean this metal up, and we'll go ahead and weld it in place. Okay, so we got the nut welded on there, and we got the bolt in it, and it's lined up real nice so it'll screw down in there pretty good. The bolt's kind of tight, but it was tight, it was tight when I bought it, so I might have to chase the threads with a die and a tap to kind of loosen it up a little bit, but it's probably better that it's tight, because that just means it won't vibrate loose and come off. I probably will add another nut in between the nut that's welded on here and the top of this bolt. I'll probably add another nut in here as a jam nut so that I can tighten this down and then tighten that nut down and lock it in place so it won't vibrate loose. So anyway, we'll got past this step, and let's try to get on to the next step. Okie dokie. So what we did, we took these, we got some 3/4 rod. We took these 3/4 bolt nuts, chucked them up in a lathe, and I cut a shoulder on there that would register into this 7/8 hole that's bored into each one of these plates. So that's going to keep everything in line this way, and it's going to maintain the correct spacing for when we do our welding. On this side over here, we've got our hollow tubing, 2-inch tubing. We've got it sitting inside the square holes, and we've got a piece of solid stock running through there, and the rear bolts are tight. I'm in the process of cutting 2 more pieces of the hollow tubing, which measures 2 inches across here, and we're going to stick that inside of here, one there, we're going to stick one there, and we're going to C-clamp this together, and then run these bolts up and check our measurements and make sure we're square, and then we'll check our measurements here to get this lined up, tighten it down where it needs to be, and that should hold everything in place to get it welded so that none of this stuff does any cattywampus kind of flexing and moving and getting us all out of whack. So that's where we're at on the project right now. I'm cutting another piece of this back there, and I've got to find me 2 decent metal C-clamps that I can C-clamp these in here, one on each side. We'll get it done. So the next piece we're going to cut is going to be a piece of angle iron. This piece of angle iron is 3/8 thick, 2.5 inch down one side, 2 inch on the other side. And cut 2 pieces of this 24 inches long. Take it on around the back and get cutting. Okay, so we've got this thing set up on the quick hitch because I like to try to make, when I make something like this, I like to try to make it so that if I have the quick hitch on there, I can use it, but I also want to be able to use it without the quick hitch. So we went on and welded this part together right here so that we can get us bottom depth and know where we need to weld at right here, and to find out how much offset we're going to have. Now we know we got about 3.5 inches right here from this pin to this inch and 3/8 solid shaft. So measuring from right here roughly, we're looking at right around 3 inches. So a 3-inch piece would take up the slack in here. So what I'm thinking I'm doing is I'm going to take a piece of this hollow stock, 1.5 inch hollow stock, or 2 inch by 2 inch hollow stock, and we're going to cut some 3-inch blocks, and we're going to weld them in there as spacers to bring this that way and tie all this in together. And so we're cutting the stock now, and once we get it cut, we'll go ahead and we'll just take a big C-clamp and we'll C-clamp that piece of stock in between all 3 of these pieces, and then tack it, and then take it off and weld it. Okay, so we got it welded up here on this side and tacked on the bottom, and we're going to pull it off, flip it upside down, and weld it that way. Always makes a better weld. Anytime you can weld it in the perfect position, it makes for a whole lot better looking weld anyway. It's coming right along. Got the 3-inch piece in there, so it should tilt forward and backward now like it should, and kind of stay in perspective with how far offset these are. And when it's on the quick hitch, it's back further, but when the quick hitch isn't on there, it'll be about 4 to 6 inches further towards the back of the tractor. making a little bit of progress on the toolbar, hiller, bedder, whatever you want to call it. I guess it's going to be like a multi-tool. Anyway, I want to put a furrower hanging off the back, that when my bedder is being built, the furrower will cut a furrow right in the middle of that hill as we're going along, so we don't have to hill it and then come back and furrow it. It'll all be done in one shot, sort of like some of the other ones that I've seen. So I got this piece left over of 2x2, and I went and picked up another piece of this 1 3/8 that fits inside of here, and I'm thinking that I will mount that furrower to this and hopefully have it so that it's adjustable up and down. Maybe adjustable this way too. I don't know. We'll see. But I was also thinking about maybe having this thing so that it was somewhat adjustable this way too, so I could actually, you know, raise this thing up. So what I'm thinking about doing is I've got some more of this angle iron that I made this out of right here, and I'm thinking about taking some of this and using it to go in here and actually mounting this square stock, welding it to 2 pieces of this, and boring some holes and putting bolts in it to hold it in place. Maybe bore a set of holes down here and then bore a set of holes up a little higher so that I can move it up a little higher if I need to. Just to give it a little bit more adjustment. So that's kind of what I'm leaning towards. I'm going to take this back there now on the bandsaw, and we're going to cut a piece. Not real sure how long a piece. I'm going to kind of fudge around with it with the tape measure and see what kind of a measurement I can come up with where I can, you know, it doesn't have to be too long, really. Just long enough that I can get some nuts and bolts through it and hold it in place. So I'll take a couple measurements. We'll go chop some of that up and hopefully make this thing come together. Okay, so I cut 2 pieces of angle iron 4 inches long, and we're going to try to get 2 holes in each piece, and we're going to try to get them lined up so they're you know, lined up with each other. So we're going to use a Sharpie first to take the place of some bluing. We cleaned this up with the angle grinder, and we're just going to take and color this in all the way across. Let that dry. That dries pretty quick. Makes for a good place to put our layout line. Now, measuring not all the way over, but you know, the inside of this angle iron's got a little curve in it, so I'm going to drop down to the bottom of the curve and measure out to the edge right here, and it's right around 1.5 inches deep. So to get this in the middle, 3/4 of an inch will get us pretty close. So we're going to take the square, and I've got it set on 3/4 and got it tight. We've got a little scribe, and we're just going to take this and we're going to put us a line on here. So we know we're going to be right in there in that area. I'm going to flip it over, put it down here, pull it up tight. I'm going to go again. Okay. And that's right around the area that we're going to be in. Now, like I said, this is about 4 inches. So from this point we could go ahead and mark where our 2-inch line is. Kind of find the center of this thing, just to kind of give us a reference point where the center is, which is about right there. That kind of gives us our center line. You can see it kind of, hopefully it shows up, but with that blue on there, it the lines show up pretty good. Now, I was thinking probably could come in, probably about the same amount from this end right here. Would work just as good as any place to put a bolt. So we'll just leave that set in the same spot and mark that in. Come on down here. We'll go ahead and mark this in. Okay. I'll measure between the two and see about what we got. Alright. So about 2.5 inches apart is what we're measuring. 2.5 inches center to center. So now that I got that laid out, I can go ahead and get a center punch over here and bring a center punch those 2 holes and go ahead and get that drilled, and then we're just going to transfer these holes over to this piece by putting it on a flat surface, setting it up on there. We'll probably use something like this piece of plate right here. Is pretty flat. So we can lay that up on there. After we get these 2 holes drilled, we'll lay this up on here, get that cleaned up, clamp it together, and go ahead and drill the holes all the way through, and then we know that they're lined up the same distance up and down and side to side. Anyway, that's just a quick way to show you how to get that lined up and make that work out for you. Okay, so we got it clamped together with the C-clamp. We got it clamped into the vise on the workbench. We've got 2 of the holes drilled in one. We got a transfer punch. It fits in this hole pretty daggone tight. And we're just going to transfer that hole by whacking it. Bring it over here. Stick it down in there, whack it, whack it. That should transfer a nice little place. And hopefully that shows up. But we got a nice little dimple here and here that our drill bit can locate that hole, and we can go ahead and bore this same size hole as this, and then we'll do a finish board to get them down to whatever size we actually want them to be. And that may be the size we end up with it right there. That's really about all we need. So anyway, let's go ahead on over to the drill press, and get these holes started.